Okay, let's do Horace, Odes 111. Um, Here's the poem. It might seem kind of like a random choice, but if you look at the last line there, you'll see a famous phrase. The first thing to know about the poem is what meter it's in. This is the fifth, or the so-called greater Asclepiad. You can look at the Alemangrino Latin grammar book. I give you the section there. And they actually scan a little bit of this very poem. But let's go ahead and start at the start. What we get at the beginning is a negative command. Typically, you have noli with an infinitive for a negative command, but you can also have the perfect subjunctive, as you have here, and it's typically described as more of a conversational way of saying don't do something. Right, and I give you the principal parts from Quairo there. Okay, continuing on, we get scire nefas. You want to supply est with this. The whole phrase is kind of parenthetical, but go ahead and supply est there. Forms of the verb to be often drop out because it's so easy to supply, but this means it's wrong, it's a crime to know. Okay, moving on from there, you see how Quairo sets up a indirect question here. So don't ask, and then the verbs of the indirect question are going to be dederint and temptaris. Don't ask quim mihi quim tibi finem. This is going to be the end of life that the gods have given to me, to you. Then we get temptaris. This is a syncopated form. You might be wondering why it's not temptaris. The way bit has just dropped out, probably for the sake of the meter here. So Horace often talks to somebody in a poem. You get an addressee and 111. That's also the case in 111. So here he's talking to a woman named Leokonoe. This is a Greek name, and it seems to be made up of a compound made up of two words here, leokos, which means white, and nous, which means mind. So what does it mean that this woman has a white mind? It probably has something to do with her naivete. Someone mentioned to me once, I haven't read this anywhere, but somebody mentioned to me or suggested that the name might mean white wine. That'd be interesting if true, but I don't think that would really work out because the iota of the oinos word, wine, might pose a problem. But okay, as it goes on, we get ut melius quidquid erit pati. You want to take this ut as introducing an exclamation. How much better than supply est again it is to suffer or experience quid erit. Just take that as a substantive clause, whatever will be, how much better it is to experience whatever is going to happen. It's kind of like the que sera sera phrase. Okay. So we get moving on with seu seu. We get two alternative conditions, more or less. This is the same thing as siwe siwe. You want to take Jupiter as the nominative subject here. Tribuit, let's come back to in just a second. So plures, hiemes, and ultimum there all refer to word means winter, or maybe refers to a whole year. Let's just talk about the verb. this could be present or it could be perfect, given the first and third principal parts, which I've given you down there. I think some people like to take it as a perfect because of how the poem started. So don't ask what end the gods gave. And now we have later in the poem another god handing out or distributing years. So maybe it is best to take that as perfect, but maybe you could take it as present and that'd be fine. I'd leave it up to you. So if Jupiter hands out or has handed out many winters or many years, or if Jupiter has handed out the last one, the last winter, which is what the quai refers to here. Debilitat is going to be the verb there. It's wearing down the Tuscan sea. This is an interesting line because we get nunc, kind of situates the poem in time. So we get a when, and we also get a where with appositis. Now, one interesting thing about this is that this pumicipus could refer to a pumice stone, a volcanic rock, or maybe it's just referring to rocks in general. I don't know. I've given you the beginning of Catullus 1 here, where the word definitely means pumice stone, but here maybe it could just be used generally for rocks. The last winter, which now wears down the Tuscan sea on the rocks situated opposite. So I think you could take this as meaning Horace and Laoconoe, they can see it, this happening. So they're at some seaside place and watching the storm outside. So now we're going to move on and actually get, we had a condition, and this is going to be so we had our if clause with the seu up there, but now we're going to get the then piece, the so-called apodosis. The if part is the prodosis, and it's going to be these three verbs, sapies, liques, seques. These are all present subjunctives. They're going to function here more or less like imperatives, but it's not as strong and direct as an imperative. It's almost a recommendation, kind of. So sapias, be wise, vina liques, strain the wine, get the sediment buildup out of it. And reseques means cut back, the long hope. But what do you do with spatio brevi then? That's ablative, and probably ablative of cause. So because of the short space of our life, because life is short, don't have a big, great hopes for things. You cut that back or you trim it. This can be used as a agricultural term. Okay, moving on from there, while we're talking, in vida aetas fugarit, jealous time will have fled. That form is future perfect right there, and you can probably also take that as a colloquial feature. Or if you like, maybe it has something to do with the meter, why this might be future perfect here. And just remember that the meter is that fifth or greater Asclepiad. So now we're making it to Carpe Diem. Now remember what I just said about reseco being a kind of agricultural term. This is also can be used as an agricultural term. I know you often hear seize the day, but it's more like pluck the day. Pluck the day. Quam minimum credula postero. Credula there means, it has to do with credo, believe. That verb takes the dative, and this adjective is going to take the dative as well. So Creduli is feminine, nominative, singular, referring to Leo Konoe. So C, pluck the day, believing quam minimum, as little as possible. You can take quam and put it with a superlative to mean as X as possible, right? And then this postero, you're going to want to construe that with credula, believing as little as possible in the next day. You can supply the dative singular of day, fifth declension, from the diem, carpe diem. That's why that might make sense. Okay, so that was Horace Odes 111.